I'm Father Lampy.
And I'm Father Schumacher. And we are the Associates.
So we're happy to be back again to answer more questions on Ask the Associates. Let's start with a Bible question. Hello, more Bible questions. And thanks again for giving us the opportunity to send you questions. My questions center on God's hardening of heart on Pharaoh to reject Moses' request to let the Jewish people go, and God sending an evil spirit to Saul, after which Saul attempted to spear David. And then he quotes a particular passage, 1 Samuel 18, 10 to 11, and 19, 9 to 10. And then there's a follow-up with particular question. So how about we just start with that, and then we'll move on to the rest of his questions.
Sure. So that passage, you're probably familiar with the God hardening Pharaoh's heart in the story of the Exodus. And every time Moses went to Pharaoh and asked him to let his people go, and Pharaoh said, "No, I won't," God even told Moses ahead of time, "I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will not let you go, and my glory may be shown." That's maybe a clue to the answer here. But let's also read this 1 Samuel 18 passage. Saul tries to kill David. The next day, an evil spirit from God rushed upon Saul, and he raved within his house while David was playing the lyre, as he did day by day. Saul had his spear in his hand, and Saul cast the spear, for he thought, "I will pin David to the wall," but David evaded him twice. Interesting that it says the evil spirit was from God. Let's talk about this a little bit. So, in that Pharaoh passage, in the story of God hardening Pharaoh's heart, the fathers of the church comment that this was a Hebrew expression for God confirming Pharaoh's choice. We need to make sure that we understand human beings are free. God does not require us to do anything. But also, in order to do good, we need God's grace. Adam and Eve were created in grace. They lost that grace. And since then, we've all been in need of a restoration to grace. Any good thing that we do is at least by the prompting of God's grace. And so, if we choose not to cooperate with that grace, God allows us. He doesn't force us to cooperate with his grace. And so that might be a way of understanding this hardening of the heart. God said, okay, you choose not to cooperate, then your will be done. And Pharaoh was hardened in his evil will toward Israel and toward Moses. God allows this moral evil, human moral evil, as he says, in order to show his glory, because he brings great good even out of our evil choices, as was so clearly demonstrated in that story of the Exodus. That Pharaoh hardened his heart and would not let the people go, and God was even stronger than the king of Egypt and brought his people out with strong arm into the paradise, into the promised land. And this is obviously a story for us to understand that God wills to do the same for us, that whatever evil falls to us, we can be freed from that evil by God's grace. So we ought to recognize that never are we compelled to do evil. Now, what about this? An evil spirit from God. Again, I think that's a biblical way of saying that God permitted the evil spirit to tempt Saul. And Saul cooperated with the promptings of the evil spirit. Saul was free. This is the doctrine of the church, that no human being is ever totally unable to choose the good or totally required to choose the evil. But God does permit it, and he even confirms our choices when we make them.
And so just to reiterate, we do have free will, and we can choose to resist these promptings, these temptations. God allows us to choose wrongly and to make mistakes. And when we make choices, we're making it easier for us to make that same choice again later. And so when Pharaoh decides that he's going to resist these miracles he's seeing from Moses and instead allow his heart to be hardened, God is allowing that to happen, but it is his free choice. The evil spirit was sent to tempt Saul, but did not force Saul to do what Saul did. He encouraged it, he suggested it, but Saul had to make the choice for himself. And so, just for the completeness of the question, I will now read the other parts, which should be pretty easy to answer, given what we've already said. Once God has either hardened your heart or sent an evil spirit to you, do you lose the capacity for free will? Could Pharaoh have resisted the hardening and agreed to set the people free? Could Saul have resisted the evil spirit and refused to stab David with the spear?
Yes, as we've said, free will remains. However, it must be, and this maybe is one final qualification to the answer, our free will cannot choose the good except by grace. Now, God wills to give this grace. He is merciful. He wants the salvation of all men. And yet, the grace of God has a season, right? It is possible to quash the Spirit of God and to drive him away. And God, grace is offered for a time and in a season. And God never abandons the sinner totally and utterly. And yet, we know this from our own lives. You have an opportunity to do some good, you choose not to do it, and the opportunity passes. Pharaoh had an opportunity to let the people of Israel go, and the opportunity passed. And he was struck with plague after plague after plague until finally he went back and said, all right, I will let your people go. And even then, in his pride, he pursued after them. He changed his mind one last time, which led to his final destruction, him and his whole army. So the grace of God does have a season and a time, and we cannot reject it forever. We can't resist it forever, just presuming that it will be around tomorrow. The final, of course, opportunity is death. After death, there's no conversion. We have to be converted to God here in this life.
And so it's important for us not to be presumptuous on God's forgiveness and his mercy and his grace. We shouldn't take that for granted or take advantage of it. We shouldn't allow ourselves to sin, saying, oh, well, I can repent later. We should do the good now and strive to make good choices now while the grace is available to us. So thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe so that you can continue to get access to the content that we provide to you for Ask the Associates. And
Ask the Associates will have new content every Wednesday.